Welcome to the Elokus channel, and we are learning now. This is our third class, and we're learning the first discourse of Bsha'ah Shehikdimu, the famous discourse called Ayin Beis, set in the year Tafresh Ayin Beis, Bsha'ah Shehikdimu. We're holding in the third class of the first discourse, which is named Bsha'ah Shehikdimu. This class today has been dedicated in honor for Refuah Sheleimo, for Avraham Ben Parvin, and for blessings of Parnasa, peace and happiness for the entire family. Only mazel and bracha. Thank you. Okay, so yesterday, in class number 2, we introduced the concepts of the crown, what the ideas of crowns are in Torah. We brought together a whole slew of various different statements of the sages regarding the crowns. And we came to the place where we were talking that the sages say in Tractate Avos, Ethics of the Fathers, that there are 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of Kahuna, which is the Kohen crown and the priestlyhood, and the crown of royalty, Keser Malchus. And the last point we made in the discourse was that these 3 crowns correspond to the 3 channels, the 3 primary channels of divine influence. God's flow into the world flows through 3 distinct channels: the right side, the left side, and the middle that unifies the 2 channels. The side of chesed, of kindness, which is the right side; the side of restraint and gevura, might, which is the left side; and the side of teferes, beauty, harmony, balance, which is the middle flow. So the 3 crowns are connected to these 3 channels. Yesterday we discussed how Chesed and the crown of Kahuna, of the Kohen, the Kohanim are the ones who bless the Jewish people, is a crown that belongs to the right side, the crown of the right side, the side of kindness, because the Kohen is an Ish Chesed. There's actually a pasuk. He doesn't bring it over here, but there's a verse that says, "Tumecha ve'urecha," your Urim v'Tumim, which are the special, powerful communication to God piece that was on the Kohen's ornament, that was on the high priest's chest, in which we can communicate and ask questions to God, which is also, by the way, an element of chesed, of kindness, that God will answer us when we ask him a question. He's open for us, and he responds. That is le'ish chasidecha, that is to your man of kindness. So you see you call the high priest the man of kindness, because priests the Kohanim are the energy on the right side of kindness, and therefore, although we don't yet know what the crown specifically is, but we know that it's a crown that belongs on the right side. And now we will move into the next crown. The next crown that he speaks about is the crown of Malchus. So we continue. The Keser Malchus ubekavas moil. And the crown of Malchus, the crown of royalty, is a crown that belongs to the channel that's on the left side. What does Malchus have to do with the left? Now, those of you familiar with the Sphira chart know that Malchus is actually in the middle. The way it works is Chachma, wisdom, is on the top right. Beneath it is Chesed, kindness. Beneath it, on the right side, is Netzach, which is victory. On the left side, on the upper left, is Bina, understanding. Beneath it is Gevura, might. And beneath it is Hod, glory. What's in the middle? In the middle, all the way on the top, is Keter, is the crown. Beneath it is Teferet, or Das. If we count Keser, we don't count Das, but we're not going to get into it now. But if you do want to count, so let's put Das in over there. Das is the 3rd faculty of the mind, which is knowledge. Beneath it is Teferet. Teferes, which is harmony and beauty. Beneath it is Yesod, which means foundation. And underneath it is Malchus, who receives. So it would seem that Malchus is in the middle, kind of receiving energy. Malchus is like the bowl, the recipient, receiving energy, the flow from all the sides, from all directions, from all three channels. Primarily, it's plugged into the middle channel. And over here, however, he's placing the Keter, the crown of Malchus, on the left side. So he explains. The Keser Malchus ubekavas moil, the crown of Malchus, is on the left side. Daharev Malchus ikar binyanei hu ma'gvuris. And that is because Malchus, its main construct, its main building, its main construction is from the side of Gevura. That means that the main etymology of Malchus, the male chemistry that makes up the format of Malchus, that builds the very substance of Malchus, is made up of energies from the left side. He doesn't say it over here, but there's a pasuk that is brought in Chassidus regarding this many times. Kvoid malchuscha yomeru, the glory of your kingdom is spoken. Ugvurascha, and your gevura and your might, yedaberu, they speak. So it puts malchus together with gevura. Liyois, and the reason for that is the hishavos biyah, because the coming into being of the three lower worlds. Bria, which is the world of creation. This is Biyah is an acronym for Bria, which is creation. Yud stands for Yetzira, formation, and Asiya, which is completion, which is the three lower worlds, which means which make up the three levels of creation. In Kabbalah, it says that the created realm of existence exists on three levels. There is our world, which is the world of Asiya, the physical material world. There is a world above that called the world of Yetzira, which is more of a world inhabited by angels. And then there's a higher world, the world of souls, which is the world of Bria. I'm giving very, very short and basic description on the concept of these three dimensions that make up the sum totality of all of creation. Now, but he says, okay, so since now we have these three worlds, so he says, since the coming about, the creation of these three worlds, and then, and also, all the flow of divine energy that flows later after the three lower worlds have been already created. So the flow of energy that flows into them. V'hagiluyim, and all the revelations, divine revelations. Bibiyah, that are going to enter into the realm of creation in either of these three worlds. Hakoilu ayadei malchus, it's all coming through malchus. Malchus is the distributor. Malchus is the interface between beyond creation, between the divine and the infinite and creation. And so everything has to funnel through Malchus. Al Kain, therefore, binyanohu ma'agvurais. That's why Malchus is primarily constructed from Gevura. What does that mean? So let's try to explain this. So it means something like this. Malchus is a major filter. It's a screen and a filter. Why? Because what's the point of a filter? To hold back. To screen, to hold back. And over here, when you have enormous energy, so in order to acclimate an energy, you're dealing with a communication between an infinite being, which is God, the Ein Sof, and a created realm. Created, it is finite. So to be able to transmit energy from infinity to finite, obviously you got to reduce the energy tremendously, infinitely. You have to reduce the energy. If you don't reduce the energy, it will blow up all of creation. So now, where is that transition taking place? Although to a certain degree we can say all the 10 sphirot, all the 10 attributes are acting as filtration of the otherwise oriented. So that's why we need sphirot. We need attributes. That's their purpose. That's their function. To communicate, to transfer from the infinite into creation. However, most responsible into bringing it into the actual created realm is Malchus. Because Malchus is let's see why. The higher sphirot are attributes which kind of can apply to the divine on its own. Okay? So it doesn't necessarily have to engage a creation. Although those spheros are preparatory stages for creation, but it doesn't inherently imply creation. Kindness can exist in an infinite level as well, and so on and so forth, all the attributes. But Malchut, which means to be a king has to have subjects, and subjects would have to mean someone that's not you, because a king cannot be a king over himself. So you have to have some other, and since it requires an otherness, and an otherness can't be another infinite being. There's only one infinite being. So if you have God and you have to bring about subjects, entities that are someone other than him, so inevitably they have to be finite, to be an other being other than God. And that's why Malchut, since by its very definition, if God is projecting himself as a king, which that's the concept of Malchus, I am a king, I am a king means I have subjects who are serving me, and I am taking care of them, or I am ruling them, and I am leading them, or whatever it is. I have sovereignty over them. So therefore, the whole concept doesn't apply at all without a recipient. And if the recipient cannot be you, so automatically there needs to be a concept called worlds, finite existence. And therefore Malchus serves as the one who transitions godliness to the finite. Now, in order to do that, as we said earlier, you need restraint. That's what it is. To take infinite energy and hold it back. It's like a person who's blown away with the most craziest idea. Like you're like so excited, you found out something. But you know that if you're going to share this with people, they'll think you're out of your mind. You're totally lost it. It's just too intense for people to hear. So you have to restrain yourself. And then maybe you'll share something, but you'll share only a little bit of it, as much as they can tolerate. That's the concept of restraining. Malchus serves as a restraint. Because Malchus serves as a filter, that's going to filter between. Now he says three things. Three things he says. In the function of Malchus in terms of the three lower worlds. And let's also position Malchus. Malchus we know is the last of the 10 Sefirot. The 10 Sefirot are all divine. Even Malchus is divine. It's God's kingship. But it's the last of the divine. It's the last stage before energy leaves the divine and enters into creation. Okay, so Malchus therefore Malchus is called the door, the exit. You're exiting the divinity and beginning and entering into creation. So Malchus takes that position and serves as that function, he says over here in the discourse, for three things. Number one, in the process of creating the world, God created the world through Malchus. We know and discussed in many places, which we're not going to get into right now, that the power of Malchus is the power of speech. Malchus is God's mouth. It's the speech. And how did God create the world? As we read in the story in Genesis and creation, that God created the world through speaking to the world. He spoke it into existence. Let there be light. Let there be a firmament. The worlds were created through speech. So Malchus is that speech, which through the speech God creates the worlds. So that's the first. That's the first aspect of Malchus. So Malchus serves as a conditioner of the infinite energy so that it can create a finite world. But then in continuation, even after the worlds already came into existence, now all godly influence coming into the world, he calls it Hamshacha. Whenever, for example, God continuously sustains the worlds. From above the world, he is sustaining the world. For example, Rosh Hashanah, every year, God decides all of our sustenance. It's a new flow. It's not like it was there from the days of creation when God created the world. It's continuously. We know that God also judges the world every day. And every day, Hazan es ha'olam kulo, God sustains the world. So all those, all the flow of energy, all of divine blessing coming into the world, it's originating in the divine. So it's infinite. How does it come to the world? Via the attribute of Malchus. There's only one entranceway into creation. There's only one doorway, and that is Malchus. But again, and because of that, Malchus has to be able to condition and restrict and restrain the infinite light so that it should be possible for the worlds to receive it. That's called Hamshacha. Then there's a third thing. All divine revelation. Because this that God is giving life to the world is not necessarily revealed. It's actually concealed. We don't necessarily see that our lunch came to us. You know, your peanut butter sandwich came from God. You don't necessarily feel that. You need to think, you need to meditate, you need to think deeper to realize that. But other than that, it just feels like that's just what's going on. You know, the farms, the grain is growing, and the bakeries made the bread. You just picked up this loaf of bread in the market, and that's how, and you got your peanut butter or whatever. So it's not revealed, but there's also divine revelation. God reveals himself, whether it's through miracles, whether it's that God reveals himself to the higher worlds and shines light to the angels in Gan Eden, he illuminates them, or whether a person experiences a moment of divine revelation. There are times that God shines his light to us that we can actually experience him, everybody in accordance to their level. So these divine revelations also must come through Malchus. Being that that's the case, and now this leads us to the conclusion why Malchus belongs on the left. The Keser Malchus is on the left. Since Malchus needs to restrain, so it must have a whole lot of muscle power to hold back. And that's the reason why Malchus is built primarily on restraining energy, not on kindness. Kind energy is expansion. Kindness reveals and opens everything. It does the opposite of restraining. Gevura is to restrain, as it says, Ezehu Gibor, who is a Gibor, who is considered strong, Hakovesh es Yitzra, someone who controls his inclination, someone who can restrain, someone that can hold back. So where is that energy coming from? It's coming from the left side. Okay. Alken, therefore, Binyana, that's why Malchus is building and construction, who Mahagvurais is from the left. As stated elsewhere. The Alken, and therefore Gam HaKeser Malchus, for that reason, also the crown of Malchus, who Bekavas Moil, is also on the left. So the crown of Kahuna belongs on the right side. The crown, the royal crown, the crown of Malchus, whatever the crown of Malchus means, which he's not discussing now, he just discussed the left, he just discussed Malchus in general, that it belongs on the left. But the crown of it is on the left. Now, this still doesn't explain, therefore, why does Malchus on the Sphira chart end up in the middle? If it's on the left side, it should have been positioned on the left. Doesn't discuss that over here. In any case, this is not going to be the first question that we're going to have when we learn that we're not going to have an answer to. Make a special space for questions that you don't have answers, and they will pile up till the sky. Now we continue further. The Keser Torah and the crown of Torah, hu bekavam tzai, and the crown of Torah is in the middle channel. It's right in smack in the middle. Kenoda. Now where do we know that Torah? We said the Torah scholar also has a crown. Where does that crown belong? The crown of Torah. That's in the middle channel, and that's the channel of, we spoke before, harmony and balance. Kenoda, as it is known by Gimel Dvarim, in the three things. The Torah of Avodah Gemilas Chasadim. We know there's another Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, in addition to when it speaks about the crowns, there's a Mishnah in Ethics of the Fathers that says the world stands on three things: on Torah, on which is Torah study, Avodah, which is divine worship, whether it's sacrifices or prayer, and Gemilas Chasadim, and acts of charity and kindness, good deeds. So these are the three pillars that the world stands. And we understand that these three pillars are the very three energies that we spoke about before, the three channels of the right side, the middle, and the left side, right? Chesed, Gevurah, Teferes. So Torah, where do we set that? Well, Gemilas Chasadim, kindness, obviously is on the right. Avodah, service and sacrifices and prayer, is on the left. Not going to get into that right now, why it's on the left. But Torah is considered the middle. He doesn't bring it over here, but we know the middle channel, as we discussed earlier, Chesed, Gevurah, Teferes. The sages say to us on the verse, L'cha Hashem HaGedula, there's a verse that says, to you God is greatness, to you God is Gevurah, might, V'ha-Teferes, and beauty and splendor. So the sages say, when it says, to you God is splendor, it's referring to a specific manifestation of God at a specific point in history. Which one is that? That's the divine revelation by the giving of the Torah. Zem matan Torah. This is the giving of the Torah. So you see from here that the Torah is Teferes, because the Torah brings us harmony. To live a balanced life is to live a Torah life. Torah has a lot. Torah is called kindness. Torah is chesed. It has kindness, but it also has discipline. For example, the positive commandments in the Torah are mainly energies of kindness, and the prohibitive commandments are restraint. They build holy restraint in us. But the Torah is not one or the other. It's both. It harmonizes. It creates a perfect harmony. It's also the reason why, and a very interesting thing, it's related to this week. This week we're going to bless the Shabbos. We're going to bless the new month, Shabbos Mavorchim. We're going to bless the new month. We're going to bless the third month. The third month is the month that God gave the Torah. Why did God give the Torah on the third month? Because Torah is connected to number 3. Why number 3? Because 3 is Teferes. Chesed is number 1. Gevurah is number 2. And 3 is Teferes. So God chose the third month. He also gave it on the third day. And the Talmud in Masechtas Shabbos gives a whole list of things connecting the Torah to number 3. Because Torah is all about number 3. It's all about harmony. Okay. The Torah is in the middle. Okay. So now that we understand and positioned where the 3 crowns are, the three crowns, the above mentioned crowns. Now, this is all introductory stuff. Now we can say is really where the Maamor really starting. Well, the Reuven calls that to understand all of this. And remember, don't forget, we learned yesterday there's also a fourth crown that goes on top of them. Okay? But now to understand all the above mentioned things, we first need to understand first, Inyan B'chinas HaKeser. We first need to understand what is the crown in general. We know there are various crowns, and we know where to position them. But what is the concept of a crown? Bichlal, in general, mahu, what is the crown? The Isa Bepardes, because now, for behold, in order to understand this, let's open up the Kabbalistic dictionary and see what we know on crown. Guess what? There is such a dictionary. There is a Wikipedia on Kabbalah, and it was written by a great rabbi called Rav Moshe Cordova, who lived in Tzfat in the 1500s. And he wrote one of his Kabbalistic writings, one of his books, is called the Pardes. Pardes means the orchard, which usually means an orchard of esoteric teachings. So in his book, he literally has an encyclopedia there where he takes all the concepts of Kabbalah and gives short descriptions of what they mean. Isa Pardes, but he's not he was an enormous Kabbalist. He wasn't just someone who who cut and paste. Didn't do that. He originated, his ideas are original, ideas are deep, it's a very fundamental book of Kabbalah. In the book of Pardes, in the portal of Kinuyim, which basically gives descriptions on the various different words of Kabbalah, what they mean. Erech Keser, so in the insertion regarding Keser, in the, how do you call it, in the, I forgot, in the Keter index, Zelle, not the index, in the Keter category, and he's going to quote a piece of a Ramak in explaining what Keter is. Zelle, and he says over there as follows. Yesha Pirush, he gives three explanations on the word Keser. What does Keser mean? So we're all familiar, the Keser means the crown. Actually, that's not his first interpretation. In other words, when we say Keser, and we're speaking about the level, there's a sphera, there's an element, there is a certain divine level called Keser, the crown. Oh, so we're usually, even I instinctively, I didn't even think, by mistake, I said the crown, the level called Keser. What does Keser mean? So his explanation that it means a crown is actually going to be his second interpretation. His first interpretation is something else. Yesha Pirush, there are those, the Ramak says, there are those before me, Kabbalists who lived a long time ago, before me. They explained that Keter means Malashon Hamtana. It means, it's the word of Keser means to wait. Kamoi, like it says a pasuk in Job, I think in chapter 36 in Job, it says Ksar li ze'er, wait for me a bit. Hold off a bit. Okay? What the context of Job is not important over here. But the meaning of the words over there is Ketar li ze'er, wait for me a bit. V'akavana, and the intention behind it is, what is that? Now, why would Keser then be called wait for me? So waiting really means stop. It's like a form of telling a person stop. You're climbing in your exploration. You're coming to know all the Sfirot is really God showing himself to us. The whole concept of us studying and the whole concept of us getting to know the divine, obviously, God himself is unknowable. But God projects of himself all these different attributes and emanations so that he can reveal himself to us. And we are told, as we discussed in the earlier class number 1, that we have a mitzvah to study and learn about him. But when we are studying and when we learn, we have to be ready to come to a certain point where we hear the voice from above saying, stop, freeze, don't go any further. And that's what Keter means. Keter means stop, wait, no trespassing. You can't pass this place. Or you can't even go into this place. V'akavana, and the intention is, as the Kabbalists explain, al tachshav b'makam hazeh, do not think on this level, klal. Don't explore over here. Amnam, however, hamtein, wait. Ache yispashet, wait until it will further emerge. V'as tuchel lahavin kain, and then you'll be able to understand. I'm sorry. V'as tuchel lahavin, then you'll be able to understand. Kain pirshu ha'gaonim. That's how the Gaonim was a period of in history of sages. These were after the Talmud, but before what we call the Rishonim, before Rashi, Rambam, and before that period, Exactly what they probably sometime from the year 400 BC or 500 BC until or 600 BC. I think the Talmud was completed in around 5 or 600 BC, and this would be the next 400-year period, is the Gaonic period. Now, just like there were great Gaonic Talmudists, there were also Kabbalists amongst the Gaonim. So when these Gaonic Kabbalists spoke about Keser, they said it means be quiet, wait, because you can't think on this level, but wait. So what does that mean, wait? So that itself has not a contradictory, has a double meaning, which on the one hand is showing that it's inaccessible, but on the other hand it's showing that it is already something that you can wait. What does that mean? Now he says in the parentheses, which gives the explanation to this. Let me stop for a moment and add. So the idea concept is kind of like this. When you come to someone's house and you ring the bell, and it could be, the person is home, you see their Ferrari outside, so they're home, and you ring the bell, there's nothing. You're not getting an answer, which means they decided that they're just totally ignoring you. They're not planning to reveal themselves. They're locked. Goodbye. I'm not talking to you. Maybe I know what you're coming for. I'm not interested. Goodbye. Fine. But then there is sometimes that someone will come to the door and say, or wait in the waiting room. You're going to wait over here. What does that mean? That means that right now, the person, the entity, the being, whoever that is inaccessible. But wait here, shortly he will emerge. And that's the concept, as he explains, of Keser. Keser means a level which it itself is unknowable, but we can expect something to emerge from Keser. Higher than Keter, as we're going to see later, above the Keter, above the crown, is something that is so unknowable that nothing can even emerge from there. It's so unknown, and we can't expect. There's no point to wait. You can wait there, and then you'll be turned away. You'll end up leaving with frustration. But Keser is a place where you're told to wait, hold on, because although this level itself is unknowable, but you can expect a face to emerge. Somebody or something or a revelation will come from here. Obviously, we're just touching upon it, and we'll understand this much better. And with this, he says in the parentheses, we'll also understand that Keser also means silence, being quiet. Now, that doesn't mean that the word Keter means silent, but it's related to silence. Where do we see that? The sages say, Siyag lachachma shtika. The fence around wisdom is shtika, is silence. And the Kabbalist explains, Siyag means what is above chachma. Chachma, what's above chachma? Keser. And that is shtika, silence. Tahainu, what does that mean? Hamtenli, wait for me. V'doim, and be silent. Malahagid davar. Don't say anything. Be silent, wait. Because right now, it's you can't understand. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Everybody have a wonderful Shabbos. And we're going to, Be'ez Hashem, continue in the next class on this last point.